Welcome to Friday night's video on our Masters series. This is the 19th video in our Masters series and the 6th video in our editing phase. In the last video we talked about filtering, and I had made the recommended at the beginning of this phase, the recommendation to purchase this piece of audio. Now, not all the time, but in this phase I've made a habit of this may or may not be necessary for you because it's normally not actually part of the editing process until recently with the advent of this type of software. Is I will do Spectral D Noise. This basically, besides the filtering that we talked about, takes actual noise out of the sound itself and can really clean up the sound. It'll get itself it will learn what's going on with the noise, allow you to do all kinds of adjustments with it to try to reduce noise of the file. And it can be very surprising how much cleaner the sound will sound by cleaning up. Sometimes not. Sometimes it really starts causing audio artifacts, and you really got to back off on it because it's really it's detrimental to the piece of audio. But not always. It's a pretty complex piece of software, and you really need to learn how to use it. But to be all honest with you, that I will use this, it's great, and it's part of my editing process that I'll go through here. First thing I'll do is I'll do denoise on it to try to clean it up some the best I can. Or if it's a voice, I'll do this with the voice denoise, trying to clean up the voice, the audio, the vocals as well as I can. And then a couple other things. First thing is the D Verb. Now, this is really cool because, sometimes there might be too much spatialization sound in the low or the mid highs or the high end, that you're getting too much ambience. We talked about, taking your room into consideration, but there might just be too much ambience, too much reverb happening and spatialization and ambient sound, impulse response, it's carrying frequency response back into the capture, and you might want to do it. A prime example of that is an amplifier, miking an amplifier, and it's coming out the back and all over the place, and and it's like, I don't want to clean it up some. Or the vocal is capturing room ambience more than I want, and I make a habit of going through here and having it learn the room or the piece of audio file, and I'll go through there and see if I can reduce some of that, with this D Verb. And because this is a wonderful piece of software, because I want to have as pristine tracks as possible, so that later on when I'm doing processing, I can do magic with processing, and there's nothing interfering with whatever I want to do with it. Whatever kind of spatialization, reverberations I'm doing, I don't want it interfering, fighting with what was captured on the track. I don't want any noise and saturations, distortions, and whatever else I'm doing in sound sculpting, conflicting with, spectral noise that's, captured on the sound, and, things like that. So, and the other thing is, de-bleed. Now, how much you can clean up your room to reduce sound, that I've got a file that is basically a capture of my silent room with whatever going on happening. And you put that file in there next to the audio file, and it'll go through and try to remove whatever it thinks is the room from the capture that you have. And that's so cool, especially if you don't have a big studio, that you've got a small home studio or something. You might not have it completely soundproofed to where you've got some sound happening, whether it's air conditioners or whatever might be going on, outside noise, neighbor noise, just room noise itself, or things that are just inherently in your room that you're not able to stop, noise, period. So, and I've taken a silent capture of it and that file, and then I put it in there with it and clean it up, so I clean as much of room noise out of the file as possible, just to be honest with you, because I learned that this piece of software, I'm pretty precautious about that stuff anyway, but this really cleans it up. And by the time I get done, my tracks are pretty pristine. So with all honesty, that's why I recommend buying this. If you don't, you'll probably come by. If you don't go through this process and use this piece of software, your stuff, if you do everything I tell you to do through this series, you should be able to come out with some pretty good stuff and some pretty well cleaned up stuff. But this can make it better, no doubt about it. So I do and would hope, and I do recommend you checking into this piece of software like I recommended at the beginning of this editing phase, because not only here but in some other editing processes we're going to do, this piece of software can really help you out to get some really good cleaned up tracks, to have some really pristine stuff to work with. So peace, help, love. I'll see you in the next video.